Hello everyone and welcome to our today's online webinar by Consulting Masters Career Coaching for students and professionals. So first of all, guys, let me tell you that is very unusual webinar for us today. So it's very different from the webinar that we did before, because we collected all the reviews and feedback from you and prepared this very hot topic today. So after this webinar, with that knowledge that we bring to you, you will definitely receive this offer from the top leading consulting firm. So the topic is networking and application process at the most prestigious consulting companies. And this webinar is also very unique because we provide it in collaboration with the ESSEC Consulting Club. So please very welcome the president of the club, Thomas Escalier. Yes, so for today, guys, we prepared a lot of necessary and important materials for you today. I think that now we are going to start, right? So let me tell you the agenda. The duration of the webinar is just 60 minutes. And in the end, we're going to do some interactive Q&A session for 30 minutes. So guys, please feel free to leave your comments and questions about consulting, how to get in. So please be sure that we're not going to leave you without answers, okay? In the beginning, we're going to review of consulting industry. Then we're going to give you information about top consulting companies. After that, we're going to tell you about application process in consulting. Why is networking important, of course? And then our expert coach is going to share with you tips and tricks. Let's move on. Yeah, it's me again, Elisa Kim, client manager at Consulting Masters. Today I'm going to moderate these webinars. And in case you have any questions, you know what to do, right? And yes, of course, let me introduce our invited guests. So first of all, Thomas Escalier. He's the president of ESSEC Consulting Club. And now I would like to pass the word to him so that he can give a brief introduction about himself. So Thomas, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Elisa, for the introduction. And welcome everyone to this event. It's a great pleasure to welcome you here, and especially Consulting Master for this new collaboration. Quick introduction about myself. Yes, based in Singapore for 1 year and enrolled in the Master of Strategy and Management at ESSEC. I see myself as a consultant after this master, and that's why, yes, I'm first the president of the ESSEC Consulting Club. So a great willingness to share as much as possible with the community of ESSEC, and also a willingness to help prepare people as best for the tough recruitment process, which is quite complex, and we're going to see maybe later on how to tackle this challenge. And yes, some experiences in supply chain, especially in the luxury industry, and also around the business development. Thank you for being here, everyone, and let's see what's going on with this event.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for this introduction. And now let me pass the word to Mostafa, development candidate at ESSEC Business School. So Mostafa, can you hear me? Could you please give us a few words?
Hi, yes, I can hear you. Listen. Hi, guys. My name is Mostafa A. I'm currently in Paris pursuing an executive master's in international business development at ESSEC. And prior to taking this decision, I worked as a mechanical field engineer for 6-7 years. I decided to do my master's because I had no business acumen whatsoever, and I wanted to do a career shift and possibly find like an entry-level position in a strategy consulting firm. I'm trying obviously to leverage my master's and work with Andre and Consulting Masters in making my dream become a reality.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for sharing your plans and goals and your dreams, of course. So that was a beautiful invited guest. And now, guys, let me show you a very short but very important video about our coaches, okay? Because, of course, I know that you would like me to stay with you till the very end, but still, let's welcome our coaches now.
Consulting Masters presents. Let us find out more about our experts. Andre Homulenko. Andre is the CEO of the company with more than 7 years of experience in consulting. He is an ex-senior manager and has interviewed more than 115 candidates for different positions in Roland Berger in Munich, Kiev, and Dubai. Moreover, he made a fast-track career from a consultant to acting project manager in just 17 months. Andre has been coaching from 2014 to help mentees receive offers from the top consulting firms. Gaurav Bhosle. Gaurav is an ex-McKinsey and a full-time career coach since 2013. More than 500 clients coached by Gaurav already work in top consulting firms, and 200 clients are currently working at MBB. He has 6 years of strategy consulting experience in Europe, MENA, and Asia, working in 15+ industries in 20+ countries. Gaurav grew from an entry-level to senior manager in 6 years. He is an ICF certified career transition coach and interpreter with 2 successful startups and owns a recruiting firm. And now let us greet our experts.
Now, I think that you are aware that our coaches, they're experts and they're very certified and everything. But also, let me tell you about the personal side of Andre. So his energy is just killing you in a good way, of course. So he just can cheer you up that after the call with him, I mean, it just happened with me like 30 minutes ago. He just cheered me up for this webinar. And I think that he also can do that with you for the upcoming interview. So please listen to him attentively because he is a very, very nice and a good coach. So hello, Andre, how are you doing today?
Hello, Alessa. Thank you very much for this great introduction. And hi also, everyone. I'm so happy to see you. Thomas, first of all, thank you so much for your support and for your dedication in order to make an event happening. I also want to say a huge thank you to Mostafa, who is also currently a student at ESSEC and who is one of our clients and who volunteered for you to take this time this afternoon to give you the value and to share the experience in networking and explaining this, how this is important from a student's perspective, also as a candidate. So he's in the same boat with you. So that I hope that in the coming 60 to 90 minutes, we'll be having with you a very productive discussion. And I'm really looking towards to meeting all of you guys. So I was like really going through the chat. So we have people from Singapore in the East. We have the people up to, I don't know, Bern, Switzerland or France in the West. So we're covering probably 12 time zones in this webinar, which is great. And thank you very much for joining and for making this happen. Yeah, so thanks also, Alessa, for cheering us up and cheering the energy and positive spirit in the webinar. Let's get it started. Basically, what I wanted to share with you, one very first news firsthand is I'm extremely happy to see that like the number of mentees whom we helped increases exponentially. And there is, especially over the last like 2 weeks, 6 candidates of us received the job offers. And we were posting about it also in the LinkedIn very actively. But there is one secret into that, which I want to disclose to you today, because what helped most of them, like 80% of their success was in the right application strategy and in the networking part. And that's why I think the topic of today's webinar is just so much important. And therefore, I also want to share with you some of the fresh examples of our mentees. Mostafa, even for you, as you are currently looking into Roland Berger, I think this could be like very useful example. So watch to that attentively. There is also a nice continuation to that story because we also helped Edward to go through the internship successfully. And he basically informed me in December that after 3 weeks of being in the internship with Roland Berger, he was able to establish himself so well on the project that he was actually offered a full-time position after completion of his studies. So therefore, internship, especially if you are a student, could be also a very good gateway for you into consulting. So either it's internship or a full-time position whenever you apply afterwards. And Mostafa, the good news for you is basically that I have already shared his contact with you. So feel free to reach out to him after the webinar, say the greetings from my side, and yeah, all the very best in your preparation and your application. Let's keep the fingers crossed for Mostafa so that everything works out in his favor. And yeah, you are now experiencing how the networking and how the coaching works live in the real time. All right, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's focus on the content side today. And what I really want to discuss with you are the 4 major things. So, number 1, we want to better understand together with you what are the real reasons why people want to work in consulting, even if they might be pretty obvious. I can also share with you my personal view about it. Secondly, I want to describe to you how a regular application process at the top consulting firms looks like, and then focus quite heavily with you together with Thomas and with Mostafa, our invited guest, on the basics of the networking and how to do it right or how to do it wrong, so that you can learn from the both experiences. And then at the end of the webinar, after the recap, you can also ask all of your questions, and I will be together here with the entire team to answer all of them and give you the most wide perspectives about it. All right, cool. So then let's get it started. Are you excited? Put yes into the chat. Here you see quite a huge list of typical reasons why do people go for consulting. It could be ranging from high salary up to, I don't know, willingness to create the impact. But most people go into consulting for the 3 most common reasons. What I hear pretty often from my clients is they want to experience the diversity of the projects, of the functions, of the topics and industries, even in the past diversity of geographies. This was also partly my reason why I wanted to go for it, because especially after, like when I was in my 20s, I didn't know what I want to do after my higher education. So I did 8 internships And out of them, 7 were boring. And the 8th one was in consulting. So it obviously created an impact for me, because in my first internship, my second project with Roland Berger in Kyiv office was helping to prepare Russian government for the Winter Sochi Olympic Games, an event which was seen later on by 1 billion people. Even the thought about it, that I, as an intern, 21 years old, can work on these high exposure projects, completely blew up my mind, which was one of the motivations. My second real motivation was about money, financial freedom, and that the fact that the companies were sponsoring MBA or PhD scholarships in providing study grants. That's what excited me most, because I was surprised that there is a company which really is interested in my long-term development and even wants to see me going to the business school for 2 years and coming back afterwards. Literally blew up my mind. And the third one for me personally was the exposure, the type of the projects, the projects where you can create a real tangible impact, like Winter Sochi Olympic Games, or when I was working in Germany, my colleagues were aiding and helping Volkswagen to survive the diesel crisis and scandal which came up in 2015. Or when I was in the Middle East, I was working for a government and we were creating a new digital transportation solution. So it's really something incredible that you can create in consulting, and the exposure of projects is just so vast. So let's move on. Yeah, nevertheless, there is a trick, because out of all the candidates who and I, even in the chat, I saw that some of you have already tried getting into consulting, unfortunately, without huge success. And that's basically due to the fact that only 1% of people who apply to the leading consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Roland Berger, Strategy, and Oliver Wyman or Kearney or Big Four firms actually make it to an offer. And it literally means that if you have 200,000 of people who are applying to McKinsey every year, only about 2,000 people will get an offer at the end of the day, and 99% will get lost throughout the process. So I want in this webinar to give you the tips how you can basically pass through the screening process and how you can apply directly, so that you are a man at least of those 10-15% of applicants who are invited to the interview and who have the chances to interview. As you probably know, or some of you at least, the process is structured in the way that you have at the very beginning, you are applying either through your CV or cover letter, or through networking, or some people do that through LinkedIn, which is a completely silly idea, because through LinkedIn applications, you will not even get any responses from the companies. Then in the next step, you need to either pass the pre-screening call with the HR or the tests, which are most common. So McKinsey has introduced imbalance test, BCG has still BST test, Bain has a new numerical test lined out, Roland Berger has this TQ test about which Edward was talking also. And then you have the rounds of the interviews, between 2 to 4 interviews in every round. And then you need to survive 6 to 8 interviews in total before you actually get the offer. So the process is highly selective. And then on the next page, let's basically talk to you why the network is so important. It's pretty simple. Put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter of your company. So some of you want to work for MBB. In the chat, I also read about desired company EY. By the way, can you maybe just identify to me into the chat which company or companies would you like to work at, so that I can also give you a more tailored advice about this. I also saw, I think, Bain somewhere, Big Four. Yeah, okay. MBB, Tier 1 companies or boutique firms, most probably. Most of the companies are using nowadays the ABS system, which are algorithms to screen out your profiles. And therefore, if you apply online or if you apply through the tool, your profile will be screened by some of the algorithms. So the human beings will not even see your profile. And that's exactly the problem. So you will not even get a chance to go there. However, there is a way how you can skip this line. So imagine it's like you are flying with Emirates or with Singaporean Airlines, and there are 2 lines, one or at least even 3 lines, one on the security check for economy. You can compare your application through the website with the economy line. Then the other one is for business. It's and for the first class. So it's referral or a very strong referral. So if you want to go smoothly into that process, you need to skip the economy line and ideally fly with business or the first class. And that's exactly what networking is all about. Because through the net, you will be able to get insights about the company. which will be extremely helpful for your upcoming interviews. So you will get so much insights and insider knowledge, which will help you to build up your brand awareness, associate yourself with the values of the company, and deliver a real difference during the interview, because you will be having a natural advantage. So let's see next. And now I want to talk to you about networking principles. But maybe before doing this, I want to ask Mostafa, our dear client. And Mostafa is, how old are you, young gentleman?
I just turned 28.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So Mostafa is in your shoes. He's applying and he's currently in the process. So Mostafa, can you maybe also share your perspective? Why do you think the networking is important for you, and what kind of value it adds to you?
So I think networking is important for me for a couple of reasons. I recently attended the ESSEC career fair, for example, and I got in contact with one of BCG's recruitment specialists. And then she put me in contact with another person who's a recruitment specialist in the Middle East, as I want to apply for jobs in the Middle East. And through my conversations with her, I got to understand that given my current status, that I still graduate. I'm doing a part-time master's, and I graduate in 2023, even though I finished my classes this July. Basically explained to me why I don't fit the criteria for the company. I can't apply for a full-time position. Now I either have to graduate and apply for a full-time position, or I can only apply for an internship now. And through my conversations with her, I shared my resume, of course, and she told me I'll be very interested in setting up an interview for you probably in November or October. But had I just initially applied to the website, I would have been just rejected, and I would have never understood why. I would have thought that they're not interested in my profile, which is quite the opposite of the truth, actually. So this is a reason why, in my opinion, networking is so important, especially inside the firm you're applying for, because you get to know information you wouldn't just know by just applying on their website.
Can you do you have any examples to make it even more specific for the audience?
Yeah, so what kind of example do you want, Andre? Just to...
Like of good networking or maybe bad networking?
Yes, good networking. So bad networking, again, I'm going to say another story. I had an interview with Accuracy. They had like an online presentation at ESSEC, and I applied as soon as I was done with their presentation. I did like 2 exams, and I got the first round of interview. But again, I tried to reach out to someone from inside the company. I couldn't reach anyone, but I prepared as if it's a standard consulting interview, and it wasn't the case. Accuracy's first round of interview is just a fit, where they ask you lots of financial questions, and I didn't prepare at all for it. So it didn't go as smooth. So that was another failure of bad networking. Good networking, obviously reaching out to your friends. I have several friends who work in Arthur D. Little, for example, Bain, Oliver Wyman in the Middle East, just reaching out to them, and obviously them referring me with a good word to the HR. I managed to secure like some interviews. So that was good networking. However, I still obviously need to prepare by asking them details about the recruitment process step by step, just to prepare myself and not face the same difficulties I had with Accuracy.
All right, cool. So then let's basically talk about the networking principles and how you're actually going to do that. I think that in terms of networking, you need to understand that consulting is a people's business. So what I mean by this is that relationships and networking is so much important in the consulting industry, because it makes a huge difference whether you are applying through the system or whether someone can put a good word for you, as Mostafa just clearly mentioned this too. Like, imagine, put yourself into the shoes of the recruiter. You either have to deal with 1,000 incoming applications coming to your desk every month. Like, imagine every month you receive 1,000 applications. And I'm not really exaggerating this. So how, if you work just 8 to 5 or 9 to 6, how within this 40 hours of week, you're going to do all your work? And screen this out. This is on the one hand. So of course you trust the system, you give some parameters, but then the system filters, and there are people with handicaps. So if your profile is not perfect, it's not matching these criteria, if you have GPA which is lower than certain criteria, if you don't have experience in certain firms, if you haven't done strategic work before, or I don't know, whatever the other reasons might be there, or you are not from the business school, then you might be out, even though no matter how talented you are. But the good thing is that through networking, if you find someone who can put a good word for you, you can already get a footstep into the door. So in my case, when I was applying for a full-time position in ex-Roland Berger, it was someone who put a good word for me. And the second option is like, You're sitting and then someone with personal relationship who might be a colleague or a friend of you or whatsoever sends you a quick note like, hey, Mary, I hope you're doing well. I just last week spoke with one of my friends, Mostafa, and he expressed a strong interest to work in our company. I know him really very well, and I think he could be a good fit for us. Would you maybe like to schedule an interview with him? Greetings, Andre. So imagine how that could change the whole story behind it. And your thing is to find the people who can put those kind words for you. And there are several principles which you need to follow. So the first and foremost, and it's the core of it. So the secret of life is in giving. Always try to give something to the person with whom you are speaking, either to the interviewer or to the counterpart. So this principle is universal for your applications, for the networking, for the interview preparation, etc. Always try to give something to the person. Bring them to smile, bring them to love, give them a couple of compliments. Simply be a humble human being. Always try to establish long-term relationship. I'm also trying in this webinar to do my best to deliver the value to you. Be open and try to give something to the people, especially in the coffee chats whenever you meet them. But even in the emails or in the LinkedIn messages, when you are messaging them, try to give them something before you ask for something. So before you ask directly or indirectly for a referral, try to give and help those people to have a really good time with you. Imagine if you are having a coffee chat for 20 to 30 minutes with a consultant, 20 minutes or 80% of the time that you spend with that person, it should be dedicated to that person to help him or her feel good about himself. And only then, afterwards, you can ask for a small favor, basically to kindly ask to submit your profile to the HR and to put a good word for you. Then networking is really the key. It helps you to become more successful in your career and in your role. It's also, think from it from a long-term perspective, because the more the people you know in the organization, the faster your career growth and promotions will be happening later on. Always be humble and confident. Never underestimate yourself. And at the end of the day, it's also a mechanical part here. So you need to implement this really on the regular basis. So you know what I'm asking my mentees? On Monday, we had a Q&A session with them. And I was also talking about handling rejections because they are part of the interview process and how to went up after rejections because so many people just go down. And the second topic was about networking. And I was just asking one simple question, which gives me, but which also gives them the identification of, are they doing enough? And the question is, how many networking messages have you sent last week? How many coffee chats did you have? And what are the outcomes? Because it directly gives you the indication, okay, I don't know, I've done just a few. I sent like just 5 messages and received no answer. Yeah, then it's obvious. It's just not enough. Just make 30, 40 per week, etc., etc. It's sometimes just about the numbers. And the more networking you are engaged, it's like a soft skill that you are building over the time. So it helps you to become even better and better. With the next every conversation, you are able to establish this human rapport with a consultant even better. Because, for example, I don't know, you fail your first conversation, but from the first conversation, you can already learn quite a lot for your second or your third conversation, which you can directly use afterwards. And this is how you improve and improve and improve. And all the information that you get from the interviewer, be always thankful for this, because you can use it either right now or in the next coffee chats, or ideally in the interview, which will happen, because it will be easier for you to establish this personal fit with the company and with the role and talk and express yourself. And this would be like really very good content for your future personal feedback preparation. And then at the end of the day, just remember one thing. Whenever you are having coffee chats, it's, as I mentioned, it's not about you. It's about the interviewer himself or herself. So ask more about education, build the common ground. Maybe you studied at the same university. Maybe you used to even work at the same company, or maybe you've been members of the same society, or you have common hobbies, or you are the same nationality, same sex, same all-round, whatsoever. Whatever the factors are, just build upon these commonalities. And I want to figure out this, especially for Chinese people and Indian people who are presented here in the room, because it's not part of your culture. First of all, for Chinese people, networking is really important, especially in Europe or in the Middle East, like in all the regions outside, especially in consulting business. It works like this. It really works like this. even if it's sometimes just hard for you to believe. Yeah. And for Indian people, please stop requesting the people to do something. Ask them and be always humble, because sometimes these requests or these just copy-paste messages, they come through to be very rude by consultants. I mean, I hated these kind of messages when I was a consultant, just a standard copy-paste. People were approaching me for help, but when I read that the message that no one is really taking care to prepare, then yeah, it doesn't really work for me. So in the next page, I actually want to give you a good example of a good message, how you can make a good message for networking, to connect to the people and to ask them for a coffee chat. So imagine you're now approaching a person with whom you have a good tie of commonality for networking. And you might be writing to alumni from ESSEC who, for example, all are already working in consulting. So your message could be like the following. So greetings from the ESSEC campus in Paris or, I don't know, Singapore. I hope my email finds you well. So in this message, you introduce yourself very briefly, and you highlights your school, which helps you to build up the pattern of commonality. And then you write, I don't know, I'm an MBA or I'm a master's student from ESSEC Business School, where you are a distinguished alumnus, and I'm sure that our college memories are still lingering in your thoughts. I found you on our alumni directory and then through LinkedIn, for example. I have been following your career for quite some time and was really inspired by your personal growth, accomplishments, and personality. And the feedback and recommendations that you gave to me that were given to you are pretty amazing, with a smiley. So, you tell a little bit about yourself, but then you can feel that you are trying to praise that person already there, and you are trying to establish that field of commonality with that person straight away. And then you are given all of this information. The more you can search about the person beforehand, so even before you write this message, I will go to the person's LinkedIn account, maybe find his posts or publications or articles that he or she has published before, so that I can even relate it to that. And then you back it up, because then it doesn't look like a random email. It looks like a really very specific email. And also one tip that I can give you here. Of course, you can send brief messages through LinkedIn, but it's always better to send those messages, for example, through the working email. And if you want to find someone's working emails, there are already some websites and tools which can help you. But the general logic is that the working email, and you can write this down, in most of the cases, in 90% of the cases, it's typically first name dot second name at companyname.com, up to some certain examples. So if it was you, Mostafa, been working for BCG, then in your case, it will be mustafa.abulgar@bcg.com. And here you go. You already know the working email of the person to whom you can approach and to write this email. So yeah, let's then move on to the structure of that email. So I'm in the third paragraph. I am very passionate about taking my next step in consulting after my graduation in a similar way as you did this few years ago. And I would be really happy if you could share some of your valuable experience on how to break into consulting role and, I don't know, company XYZ specifically. So with that, you tell the recipient about your career goals. That's the best way to do so, is to refer to their own career path. And then at the last of it is just arranging a meeting request in a very polite way. So would it be possible for us to have a quick coffee chat? ? Do you have any time this week or next week? Put yourself into the shoes of the recipient. If I'm Andre and I have studied at ESSEC school and Mostafa is approaching me, or Thomas, and we both studied at the same school, we already have some commonality ground. Yeah, and then later on, it's me describing this. I will be pleased to help you, because I already see that you've spent some time with that email, that it's tailored to me. It's not just a random one. And then, of course, I want to give you a shot. So I want to give it a shot and help you out. So I'm already in a positive mood. So this is a really good example of how you can do that. Yeah, now just a couple of bonus materials for you. How to do that properly. First of all, approach the people whom you really know or who have some commonalities with you. Those could be alumni of the same university, those who have similar background, nationality, sex, members of the same societies, or you have some common interests with them. Then responses rates for you goes higher statistically if you use the work email, .surname@companyname.com. Basically, you can try and check. I think there is also currently a website which can help you to figure out the working emails of the individuals as well if you Google for it. But also in the LinkedIn, you can simply shorten these messages to some substantial manner. Yeah, and then when sending the emails, your goal should be, first of all, to arrange the call or the coffee chat and not just to ask the questions. Later on, during that call, you will have the time and the opportunity to ask the question. So one email, one purpose, arrange the call as a next step. Yeah, and then you need to close the call also with an indirect request for a referral. And don't leave it to an accident. There are specific ways of phrasing it. So whenever you are having this conversation and in the coffee chat, you have been talking for, 20 minutes about the person and helping him or her to feel great about themselves. Then at the end of the conversation, you can basically say like, "Oh, Thomas, thank you so much. This was really impressive. And thank you so much for your time. I have learned so much about your company. And I think that your way is really unique. And yeah, I would also like to join your company as a future consultant because I feel that especially after our conversation today, I'm so much in line with the companies, with what are you doing. And I would really love to become your colleague. Would it be maybe possible for you to put a positive word or to simply put a good word from me to the HR? So you see, it's indirect asking for a referral. That's how you can do that. And that's the secret. I mean, oh God, I wish someone could have told me that information 10 years back when I was applying on myself. But unfortunately, I needed to undergo through 39 rejections before I got an offer. And this is because I didn't know about networking at all. I didn't know how to do that. I haven't even thought about it. Yeah. So this is exactly that secret. And I really want to share this with you. Like, be humble, give something out to that person, research about themselves, be very prepared. And then in that conversation, give it all your best. Put that person in the center of the universe and then ask the right questions. Make the person feel great and feel proud about himself or herself. And then, put this word. I think that this was the most valuable. Mustafa, what do you think?
Honestly, Andre, I've only been successful since I started networking using these techniques. I spent the first 3-4 months, probably had 20 rejections. I didn't have a single interview. I didn't have a single phone call. So I think it's very valuable in my opinion, honestly. Without reaching out to someone, especially with someone with my profile. I used to be a mechanical field engineer, and I don't go through the usual screening process because I don't have the necessary skills that usual consultants have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thomas? Yeah. What about you? Is it giving you a better understanding of how you could and should network?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I truly believe that networking is, I think, 0.5% of the preparation to reach out to the interviews. And it definitely saves time to networking, to first really know well about the offers, the company, the culture spirit, and everything that you get the insights that are useful for the recruitment process. And it's definitely a way to save energy. If not, you lose so much time and energy to just apply everywhere and then getting rejected by most of the companies.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Right. Good. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So then, by the way, Mustafa, do you also have any specific stories to share or any tips also from your side? How do you network as a student?
So I think mainly we are very lucky at ESSEC, honestly, because we meet so many people through lots of career fairs and we do have lots of company presentations. I think it's quite important that you do build, whenever you have a company presentation or career fair, some kind of rapport between you and the person presenting the company. Because if you do build this rapport, you can easily reach out to them either on LinkedIn or ask them for their email. And then they can immediately direct you to someone from the HR, or they can even refer you if you build a really good relationship with them in the 15 minutes you have a chat after their presentation. I think this is the most important thing, to be honest. And obviously, for example, I studied UCL in London back in 2014. I graduated then. I haven't been in contact with lots of my friends, but those who I'm still in contact with, I can easily reach out to them and they can easily refer me. I think this is super easy. You just have to reach out to your network. Some people I haven't even spoke to in 10 years, honestly. Not 10 years, but 8 years, 7 years. They were still responsive. They were still willing to help me. I think if you take a leap of faith and reaching out to these people, it will still be better than just applying to firms without any referrals, because it doesn't work, honestly. And I realized at a certain point that if I don't change my strategy, I'd still be doing the same failures again and again and again.
Exactly. That's one of the key takeaways from it. In order to achieve different results, to take different actions, you need to constantly question in your approach and modify it and do something similar. And ladies and gentlemen, this is just the first webinar, and we have been just scratching on the surface of the networking topic. So it's just maybe top 1% of the entire knowledge that we do have about networking. And there are also some special strategies which we do teach our mentees, and we give it into our courses and materials, and also the training and mentoring, etc. So there is just so much which we could, I could probably have done a webinar about networking for the entire weekend, because that's how much experience we have already gained about it. But I simply wanted to give you at least this 1%. So if you apply directly today, it will completely change your life. But with our help and with our support, you can apply it really in the proper way. And therefore, I'm also going to share with you some further information. Yeah, what have been the most common mistakes in networking? People, from what I have observed, people have been sending just not enough messages. Basically, it's just sometimes about the numbers. Usually you used to approach 100 people to receive one job offer, or a few job offers at the very end. Because you apply 100 people, then you reach out to 100 people, then, maybe 30, 40 will respond. Maybe with 20, you will get a coffee chat, or will agree to get a coffee chat. Maybe 15 will come to the coffee chat. And then maybe just a half of them, 7 or 6, will be willing to refer you. And maybe out of this 6 to 8 referrals, 3, 4 interviews will be coming. And then you will be getting 1 to 2 offers. That's typical statistic. Then people are sending massively standardized emails or messages. And it doesn't make sense at all, because if I'm a receiver of that email or a message, I'm not even willing to respond to it, in all honesty. That's why the response rates are so low with many of you. And please don't apply through LinkedIn. You won't even receive an answer. And especially after the pandemic, the companies have become so selective. So they're just coming out from this recruiting freeze, which they used to have for the last 2 years. But now the situation has changed dramatically in your favor, because they all are looking for the candidates right now, which is extremely good news. And then I think that application through the website doesn't make sense as well, especially at this particular moment. Okay, let's move on and watch. What are the 5 steps which you need to take in order to get consulting offers from them? As in every process, it consists, according to our experience, just 5 cornerstones. First of all, you really need to have an application strategy plan along with your CV and cover letter polished. That's why in the beginning of our training with all the candidates, we create this application roadmap together with you and for you to help you to navigate through that complexity, because most of the people don't know how to get there. And this is where we are coming and showing you what is the right way. Then secondly, it's so just important to go and work on your CV and cover letter, because CV for consulting looks so much different than for other industries. There are certain rules and formats that you need to follow. All of this we can make available for you. By the way, you can, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can even watch some of the past webinars about CV, cover letter polishing, etc., which could be really useful for you. So follow us on YouTube and in other social media in order to get in touch. Yeah, then, of course, it's setting up interviews through networking, which we were covering today during the webinar. And then there is the entire preparation part with different parts of it, with numerical skills and abilities for tests that you need to develop, with soft skills that you need to develop to pass HR calls, then personal fit part, case part. Yeah, it's completely different animal. And next week, we are going to do another case interview simulation or personal fit interview simulation. I would strongly recommend you to visit our website and to register to that webinar as well, in order to see how one of our candidates will be handling it, because there will be a live interview simulation, either of the personal fit or the case part of the interview. And then again, it's also quite a lot about the mindset. So it's 80% strategy and just 20% mechanics or your pure knowledge, because you need to perform in 8 interviews in a row or in 4 interviews in a row in just one day. You need to pass through them. So solving just one case or just being good in one personal fit interview is not enough. You need to duplicate this performance in all 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 interviews. That's why it's so important. And then at the end of the day, we help you to navigate through the entire journey and to crack all of these interview rounds. And so we are supervising you along the entire way. And even afterwards, even after you have received your job offer, in one of our programs, we can even help you to become an excellent consultant, to help you with onboarding. Imagine what will happen. I don't know, you receive now your dream job offer from BCG, but you have no prior consulting experience. You are coming as a fresh graduate from the school. You will be thrown literally in the cold water. If you are not prepared, then you are prepared to fail. That's actually what's sometimes happening. Some of the mentees who underestimated and who were not asking for help in the right time. So I'm telling this to you from my personal experience, which I was able to gather with 580 plus clients in consulting masters over the past few years. Yeah. So just maybe to sum up before we come into the Q&A session, over the last hour, you have basically learned the peculiarities of consulting case interviews and the networking, how to successfully network and what are the most common mistakes, how to get into the offers from the top consulting firms, and what could be the winning attitude, and giving you some tips for the networking. And yeah, on the next page, it's up to you. I mean, it's a free will. You can either continue to prepare on your own, or you can get the help from the experts who have done that from their sides. I mean, we have been sitting on both tables. We were candidates back in 2008, back in 2010 and 12. We have been consultants for roughly 6 years, each one of us. We have been members of the recruiting teams. So we were actively actually interviewing the candidates, and we have been coaching. And so far, 587 people have received the job offers from all major consulting companies with our help. So we can guide you through the entire process, and we have a proven methodology that really works, that has shown over the time. And I also have some very positive news with you to share. The recruiting season has already begun, and there is not that much time left. So, I mean, if you really want to get an offer before summer, then you need to hurry up, because you have just 5 weeks left at the moment in order to apply and to go through the process, or afterwards just prepare for the next cycle. And at least nowadays, all the HR are so hungry for the candidates. They're looking like through the entire market. So now is really the best time to apply. It's probably the best since the last 2 years, since the pandemic has begun. And we can also take 7 people this month to help you to receive the job offer. So it's also a limited one. And if you want to be that 1% of the candidates who get their offers, then just take the first step right now and book the strategy call with Olesa. She's very smiling and charming. And she's really more than happy to help you, to answer all your questions individually. Mustafa, how have been your experience of working with consulting masters? Maybe you could tell me about your pains, like why did you reach out? Like why did you start working with us? What have been the challenges that you faced, and how we are now working together with you, and what do you like and appreciate most?
So I think the most important thing for me when I started applying to consulting firms, obviously, is the fit and case interview. And I mean, in my cohort, I'm doing an executive master, so mainly not a lot of people are aspiring consultants. And I didn't have the opportunity to practice with the people who were practicing cases frequently. I was just using Case Coach because as an ESSEC student, we have like free access to Case Coach. But I felt that my progress using Case Coach and just like practicing with random partners was very slow. And I didn't feel that I had access to subject matter experts who would tell me what are the right strategies to crack a case. I didn't even understand how to effectively lead a case, which is a candidate-led case, not an interviewer-led case. And this is primarily why I was initially I wanted to use consulting masters. I think as soon as I enrolled, my approach to doing cases now completely changed, using like Gaurav's videos and practicing with people who are actually on my level or even sometimes better than me is a great help. It motivates me to become even better every day. And it's just like a boost to my confidence as well, because I know that my approach is really well and it's successful, and I can see the improvement myself. When I did my first interview, aside from the fact that it didn't go well because they asked me like so many questions about the balance sheet, but the fit questions using Gaurav's technique, STAR method, and how like I was prepared, I actually aced the fit part. And I really do believe it's the reason why they're still considering my application. They didn't just immediately reject me as soon as I was done with the interview. So yeah, I think overall, if you do have access, obviously, to lots of experienced consultants and you do practice with people who are experienced, then I think this course is not going to be of the same benefit as me. But in my case, I think the course was a huge benefit. I can clearly see it in like every day now when I do cases.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspective. And Mostafa also came to us by the recommendation of his good friend Ahmed. And Ahmed is also sending his greetings to you in a quick short video. So just checking out the story. You know, ladies and gentlemen, every time I watch this video and every time I recall Ahmed, my heart simply starts beating faster because we faced so many challenges when he reached out to us in February 2020 or 2021. It was just after that pandemic, and the whole economy, the whole hiring was just stopped. And I mean, it was such painful for him. It was my biggest privilege actually to help him to go out of zone, to help him with networking, with interview preparations together with Gaurav and the rest of the team. And for me, it always was more than just a business transaction. So therefore, thank you, Shukran. Ahmed, was a pleasure also working with you. And now he is also a valuable member of our VIP alumni community. So you can also reach out after you start working with us to our past mentees. That's the unique network of individuals who are working with your dream consulting firm. So I saw that some of you wanted to join EY-Parthenon. So you already definitely have at least one contact over them all over the world. Just simply book a call with Alessa, our client manager, straight after this webinar in her Calendly, and she will be able and happy to provide you with all the necessary help. And now I think it's time to answer all your questions. So Alessa, what do we have in the chat?
First of all, Andre, thank you for such a great webinar, for such an amazing content. I hope, guys, that you really enjoy it because we did our best for you. And yes, we already have some questions. So first of all, from Yahan Ju. So the graduate recruitment is like on a rolling basis. How to check the availability for a potential graduate recruitment position and of study internship?
Okay, so it of course depends largely on the region. I mean, ideal source, you can either check the website of Consulting Masters because we are also keeping on informing about the rolling positions in consulting. Maybe some of you guys can also put the link to the Consulting Masters website so that people can visit our website and check the rolling positions. And then the next source is, of course, please go through the websites of the consulting firms in your specific region, because then you will see the openings, or maybe you will also need to have some alerts. But the good thing about networking is that networking can actually help you to get hired both on and off cycle. So no matter when do you network, as soon as the opportunity arises, you could be recommended to the HR by that person. That could be straight away, or that could be in a few months later on when the recruiting cycle resumes. I hope it helps.
Thank you, Andrea. So another question from Thomas. How to convince someone to get a coffee chat by reaching out to him here through LinkedIn with a limited number of words to send?
Mm-hmm. Thomas, good question. You can basically take the structure of the sentence as a base and the core elements and then simply shorten it out. But if I were to write the LinkedIn messages, I mean, we also do have the LinkedIn text recommendations in our program. So feel free to join our network, and all of this will be given as an access to you. And we can train you even more in details about the networking and share all the necessary tips. But just follow the same principles. Establish the commonality pattern, praise the person, and then ask to have a coffee chat.
Thank you, Andrea. Next question from Varun. Won't reaching out directly on work email as opposite to LinkedIn be considered as intrusive?
If it's a person with whom you have something in common, then it won't be considered as intrusive. Especially, I'm not sure whether ESSEC business school does it, but with other business schools, they do have sort of alumni database where you can find the people who have already studied in the same university as you do, and you can reach out to them through those emails. So you can also refer to your alumni network who shared the contact details with you.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. A lot of time, people do not write to the senior consultants because they feel that they might offend them, or they might find it themselves guilty that they are asking for a favor. Don't do that. You are not asking for a favor. Consulting in the consulting industry, the only asset is people. And most of the senior managers and partners, they have a KRAs, they have a success criteria, not only to deliver project, but also to build practice. So they are also continuously on the lookout. So when you send them an email, ask them for a coffee chat. If your profile is strong, if your motivation is good, they are only happy to meet you. Yeah, you are actually also reducing their effort of hiring. So don't hesitate. You are not asking for favor. Yeah, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, thank you, Master Shifu. It's great to see you again, and I hope that your health has improved since last week.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Gaurav. Also, he's a chief coach in our team and my great friend and business partner.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, coaches. So another question from Varun. What are the key questions one should ask during the coffee chat?
Varun, I could have given another webinar about it, I would say. Yeah, but generally, these are the questions where you need to establish the pattern of commonality based on same background, origin, or whatever connects you. Then it should be professional questions, maybe some personal questions. And these should be the questions which will help the interviewer to feel really good during the interview. So it all should serve the purpose that the interviewer understands that he speaks with you as someone very, very similar to him. So he should probably recognize, you should give him a feeling that, he's talking to himself, who is probably a few years younger, and just staying before that step, so that it's easy for that person to recommend you. And just bear in mind, there is also one useful thing, because nowadays companies have introduced even remuneration systems for hire a friend system. So if you can recommend a good candidate and he or she makes it to an offer, then you could be rewarded with $1 up to $10,000 or euros, depending on the company and the region, for covering that position. Yeah, and if you need more information about it, just reach out to our client managers and let's start working together. And I will be happy to uncover all the secrets with you. But for this webinar, I only had like 60 to 90 minutes and we are already exceeding.
Thank you, Andre. So another question from Alexandra. How long does it take to prepare all the documents to apply?
Alexandra, thanks for this question. I would say it all depends. If you do everything on your own, I don't know how time it will take you. It might take you 1 week, 1 month. If you apply, you got rejected, you don't understand why you was rejected, then you probably need to rework on your documents or rework on your approach. But with us, it's definitely 1 week, because we will be providing you with a comprehensive guideline, with the templates, with a video course, with detailed instructions of how to do, what to do, and so that you have it. And then the final check with an expert from our team in order to make it ready to be sent. So that will be very efficient, and we guarantee you the high quality of your application documents, which is already a basis for your future success and interview events.
Thank you, Andre. So next question from Johan Zhu. Thanks for answering my question. Another one from my part would be the frozen period. I recently applied to some top consultancies in Greater China region, and I failed even passing the CV screening. Would that interfere with the application to other offices in the next cycle?
Gaurav, you are a great China specialist. Would you like to cover it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, see guys, all the data are connected for most of the consulting companies. If you got a reject, then that stays reject for the cycle and the next cycle as well, typically. And then next cycle you can apply. However, I think the exception is probably what Andre has been investing the last 1 hour on. Yeah. So if you want to break that, then you should be applying through reference. Especially if you apply through partner reference, all these flags in the database do not matter as much. But if you again apply the same way, it's almost 100% that you will get rejected, or the application will not go forward. Any office, even if you apply on the moon, same thing. The databases are connected.
Change your approach right now in order to be successful in future, and reach out basically if you need help. Okay, cool. What else? So I see one more question from Alexandra on how fast do you help to be ready for an interview? Well, Alexandra, it also depends on your current level. Within 3-4 months, there are unfortunately those who cannot really pick up for quite a long time, but there are all very fast candidates. And if you have a final interview call and if you are ready to work hard, it's also just, it could be a matter of the weeks. It always varies and it depends on your level. In order to assess this, you probably simply need to book a session with a coach to see what is your current level and what is the gap between where do you stand at the moment and what do you need to fulfill for the real interview.
I think another factor over there is the kind of company that you're applying. So as Andre concluded in the last sentence, where you stand and what's the level expected. So expected level is also a little bit different. And of course, as we always say, your current level, especially if your structured problem solving, your analytical bent of mind, your top-down communication, on these three criteria, where do you stand today? It's something that needs to be evaluated, so that we can find out the delta, and that probably will tell us how much time will it take.
All right, thanks.
So one last question from Varun.
Varun, would you like to ask this question in person and turn on your camera and briefly introduce yourself and raise this question?
Absolutely. Thank you, Andre. So I'm Varun. I'm currently based in Delhi, India. Been working with Deloitte in analytics consulting for about 8 years and trying to break into a strategy consulting role.
Okay.
So my question is, just when reaching out for coffee chats, would you recommend reaching out to people at the consultant, senior consultant level, or would you recommend reaching out to someone higher in the firm?
I would recommend you, first of all, thank you very much for your question, Varun. It's a pleasure to meeting you. I would definitely recommend you to start in the middle of the pyramid and then go to the top. So start reaching out to senior consultants or senior associates, managers, senior managers, principals, partners. Because with managers, I think it's easier for you in terms of their availability to arrange a coffee chat. And a good referral, a really good personal referral, from a manager could count even more than just a copy paste or forwarded email through the partner.
Got it. Thank you. And thank you to you, Gaurav, Alicia, and the team for organizing this. Super helpful. And one more point, Andrew, you had mentioned to schedule a call. So I already have one scheduled for Monday.
All right. Perfect. Sounds good. Cool. So I think Alessia is more than happy to help you and assist you. And just follow Varun's example. Great. And I also want to express a huge gratitude. I mean, it's not, this webinar was something unique for me for the following reasons. That first of all, I'm extremely thankful to Thomas for this unique opportunity to help and to arrange this webinar for all of you guys. I'm also extremely happy to Mostafa, and thank you, Mostafa, shukran for your contribution, because I think it's extremely important, not just to listen to the expert, but also to see how does the client from us is implementing this in the real practice and what are the outcomes of it. So I also wanted to give this perspective to you. And I also want to, first of all, thank you to Alessia for a great wipe, for a great moderation, which she brought from the sunshine from Thailand. Thanks to Gaurav, to Ksenia, to the entire team behind of this event. But last and the most important one, I want to thank all of you guys for joining it. Thank you really so much for taking your time, depending, no matter what the time zone, Singapore or Europe or whatsoever it used to be for you. And I'm also really looking towards to see you in the upcoming webinars, or to talk to you, or to help you out, or to welcome you in one of our programs. So really looking towards, let's keep in touch. And I would be also very pleased if you could share with me in this chat or also in your social media, how did you like our webinar, whether it was useful for you. So some sort of appreciation, feedback whatsoever would be really great to hear from you guys. So thank you very much for attending this, and wish you all the very best.
Guys, thank you for attending. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Andre. Bye.